Protected by the Father of fathers, King of all kings. We in the war zone, hey. Said we in the war zone. We are not to be afraid. We are not to be afraid. We in the war zone, hey. Said we in the war zone, hey. We are not to be afraid. We are not to be afraid. Be afraid.
Woke up in the war, strapped up like Rambo, loaded up with precepts, tearing down them strongholds, keep rebuking them devils, all the way to the finish line. Book of Proverbs 4:20, gotta let your ears incline. We're doing this in real time, watch the crime rate decline. Check us out, we rising up, ain't no longer nap time. Wipe the cold out your eyes, submerge yourself in the water, equip yourself with the word, and give a higher the glory. Praise him in all things, and all you do is acknowledge him. His will be done. We can't live without him. Choose life, not death. Don't be a dead man walking. I seen a dead man shoot a dead man to put a dead man in a coffin. Went to a restaurant, seen a dead man fix a dead man in a coffin. That's 1 John 5:12. What you thought I was just talking? I'm in the business of walking. Don't believe in loose lips. Lay my life down for all y'all. I know what a true friend
We in the war
is.
zone, hey. Said we in the war zone.
Shalom Israel, this is Shayir Yeshub, and we are here again in Pure Facts. This is War Zone in the Unity family. I want to talk about a bar that the brother just said a while ago. He said, I saw a dead man shoot a dead man and put a dead man in a coffin. A lot of people might not get what it is that he said, man. What he was saying is that if you were separated from the Most High, you dead already. And so we had two dead men that was arguing about something. And one dead man got the best of another dead man and put that dead man in a coffin. But the thing is that if you don't know scripture, that dead man is going to be waiting on that other dead man come judgment time. This is the times we're living in right now. The bottom is falling out. There's going to be no more normalcy. And I'm going to try my best to get through this show and be able to relate to the people about the times that we're living in. Look, if you still worrying about getting rich, you still worrying about, stunting, you still worrying about partying and all of that, you know different than that dead man that Ox saw shoot another dead man and put that dead man in the coffin. I'm going to open this one up in 2 Ezra chapter 15 because just like this song is befitting for what we're going to talk about. This is 2 Ezra 15 and I'm starting at verse 14. It says, Woe to the world and to them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and a sword in their hand. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their king nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in the power. A man shall desire to go into another city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, their cities shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, shall destroy their houses with the sword, spoil their goods, because of lack of bread and for great tribulations. This is the time that we're in right now. And before I get into the show, I want to talk a little bit about these verses that the prophet penned out here. You go back to the beginning of chapter 15, the Most High told Ezra, he said, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of this prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, said Ahiah, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. If there's anything that is true in this world that we live in, it is most definitely the word of the Most High Ahiah. This is some words that was written many, many years ago. In fact, we're talking thousands of years ago. These words was written. And it's befitting for the day. He said, the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. He says, one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Civil unrest Civil unrest is what the people are putting out before us. At no time in America's history have we been in a place in where we are right now, or should I say, no time in modern history, put it that way, that we have seen the things that we have seen played out within the last 13 or 14 or so months. Then you got people at the beginning of the year saying how happy they were that 2020 was gone, as if 2021 is going to bring us something different. But when you read the words of the prophecy, you see it's only going to get worse. He says, "For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their king nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." We looked at thousands and thousands of thugs take the streets of Washington, D.C., and break into the Capitol Hill building there. Thugs is what I called them. All because they guy didn't get put back in the office. Now, if you think that that's the reason why that episode took place, then I really feel bad for you. It's not that. There is a wicked, wicked spirit that has been unleashed in the earth. And that spirit is called destruction. And that spirit is only going to grow. No one is going to be able to turn that spirit back. Civil unrest is not only happening here in America, civil unrest is happening everywhere. We don't look at enough world news to understand that what we see in here in America is also happening in Europe. Is also happening. It's happening everywhere. Everybody is at unrest because the spirit of destruction has been given out. He says that they shall not regard their kings nor princes. Biden is not going to get any respect from the people when he take office. I'm gonna be one of the first to tell you. I don't even know if this is going to make it all the way through or not, man. I don't know if this is going to be one that they're going to snatch off, but as long as I have breath in my body, I'm going to speak the truth and what the truth is. Biden is not going to get any respect from the people. What you saw last Wednesday in Washington, D.C. is nothing but a forerunner of the things that is to come. You telling me that you're acting like that just because your guy didn't win? Man, things have been happening to us as black people in this country for years. And what do? We get over it. We keep it moving. But you guys are going to have a hissy fit about it and going to march down into Capitol Hill and tear up the building and cause all kind of chaoses and scenes. These are things that are going to become a norm. It's going to become a norm. And at the same time, corporations are steadily creating more and more rules. They're creating more rules to control us. And the governments are passing more and more laws to take certain freedoms away from us. So what are we supposed to do? The only thing that we can do is listen to the words of the prophets. Turn back to the Most High. It said, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." That is one of the first stories that we're going to talk about, how these airlines, these big corporation airlines, are creating rules that are going to control you and it's going to make you do what it is that you want them to do. And most people are going to do it because they love to do what they want to do. People are going to compromise their bodies. People are going to compromise their health. They're going to take the drink. They're going to take high dosages of the drink just to be able to do what it is that they want to do. They're not going to let nothing stand in the way of them being able to go where they want to go, even if that means that their very health could be in jeopardy. They're going to take the drink. He goes on to say that houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid, and a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread for great tribulation. And what's funny is that when Esdras wrote this was many years before Yeshua HaMashiach was even born, whom the world called Jesus Christ. Many years, and Yasha said that in the end days that the love of many shall wax cold. Homicide has tripled, it has quadrupled within these last 13, 14 months since March of last year. Because people are tired. People are tired of being cooped up in the house. People are tired of hearing that they can't visit their loved ones. People are tired of saying of not having work. People are tired of not being able to pay their bills. People are tired. And so the love of many is starting to wax cold. And just think about when Walmart shut the foods down. What are you going to do then? Have you even thought about it? So let's talk a few about how the bottom is going to fall out. We're going to start with travel because the prophet did say that many should try to go into another city, but they shall not be able to. And it was one thing reading this before all of this took place, saying that the Most High saying that these things are going to happen, but before these things took place, we were not able to see how. Now that these things have taken place, we are able to see how they are going to do this here. I'm going to roll this clip and we'll be right back to talk about it.
For international travelers, if you're planning to leave the country, you're going to need to test negative for the coronavirus before you come back to the USA. In less than 2 weeks, the CDC is going to require all air travelers to have a negative COVID-19 test result before they come back into our country. It's another attempt to slow the spread of the virus, especially with more contagious strains popping up across the world. News4Jax reporter Vic Micolucci spoke to people who still plan to fly. He's joining us now live from the airport. Vic, I guess folks are still going to go ahead with their travel plans.
It is stricter for sure. For months, travelers going out of the country had to show a negative test result to get into several countries in Latin America as well as Europe. Now the tables have turned. They have to have a negative result either on paper or on their phone before they can board that flight back to the United States.
It was always my dream to travel.
And Connie Cenac is living out that dream. Even with the pandemic, she's already traveled to Mexico and the Dominican Republic.
I'm 71 years old, and we're not guaranteed another tomorrow. And I'm not going to sit in my house and let the world pass me by.
Next up, 5 international trips in the next 6 months, flying with family and friends. And a new requirement from the CDC will make all of them get clean COVID-19 test results before they can board their flights back home.
And this is probably the weirdest time to travel.
It has been, but we're still traveling. Been busy, busy, busy.
Come January 26th, the U.S. will require flyers to get a viral test before they can board a flight back to the country. The test must have been taken within 3 days of departure, and passengers must show their airline's documentation of their negative results. Otherwise, they can't board.
When I've been to the Dominican Republic and to Mexico, especially these all-inclusive resorts, they are using very strict COVID prevention measures.
Travel advisor Scott Lara is still booking trips to other countries.
I'm at TRS Yucatan.
And he insists traveling is safe. He says some resorts are offering the tests upon checkout.
And yes, there's a small additional cost to it, but I feel confident people will continue to go and have fun.
He believes the new requirements from the CDC will make a difference. Now, in addition to those requirements, the CDC is also recommending that international travelers quarantine at home for at least 7 days after they get back to the United States. They also say people should get a second COVID-19 test within 3 to 5 days after they get back home. We're live at Jacksonville International Airport. I'm Vic Michelucci, Channel 4, the local station.
So there you have it. Once again, the government is standing behind the corporations whom they pad their pockets and how the corporations do all the dirty work. Because, see, America still has to look something like America. In other words, the government can't come right out and say that these are things that you have to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to pad the pockets of these big corporations, and then the big corporations make the rules, and the people are going to follow because the people love the big corporations. We got Connie Cenac, 71 years old, always dreamed of traveling. See, it's people like this that is going to make it hard on everyone else, because it's okay for Connie that the corporations say that before you travel, this is what you have to do. You have to. I've been telling people from the very beginning of this that if you look at the numbers, the monster that is in the room, it does not warrant all of this havoc that they have been putting on us. This has nothing to do with protecting lives. This has nothing to do with the preservation of lives. This has nothing to do with the government caring about you. This has everything to do about control. We start giving away our power September 11th, 2001. This is when we began to start giving away our power in order to be safe. And the government realized that the American people, we're not talking about the other people or in the other parts of earth. We're talking about the American people. The government realized that the American people were willing to trade their constitutional rights for safety. And so ever since then, this has been the same Ponzi scheme that they have been running on the American people ever since then. Right? War on terror. We got to keep the American people safe, so we have to go overseas and we got to kill the bad guy. Saddam Hussein, Bin Laden, Gaddafi. We got to go kill the bad guy. When we over here living our best life, not realizing that our soldiers are over there pillaging the land, literally taking minerals out of the land, seizing poppy seeds, bringing them back over here where pharmaceutical companies are making drugs out of them, Oxycontin. Now, all of a sudden, white America has an Oxycontin problem. But when black people was addicted to crack cocaine, we was just drug heads, and the best thing that we need to do was lock them up. And now we got this Oxycontin problem over here in America with white America. They have a problem, and we need to get them help. We're willing to trade our freedoms. We're willing to trade constitutional rights in the name of safety, and they know that. There are no more Bin Ladens. There are no more Gaddafis. There are no more Saddam Hussein. Now the enemy is the monster that is in the room that showed up in March. Big old Godzilla showed up in March. Stopped everything on the tracks. And no train has moved since then. Small businesses have taken a huge toll, while the big corporations have made billions. Amazon have made billions. Walmart have made billions. Home Depot has made billions, while the mom and pop shops Had to shut it down. Barbers, cosmetologists, people to do the nails, travel agents, all of these type of businesses have been hurt. Why? Because we have to bring the middle class and the poor to their knees in order to control them. And we're going to do it through the corporation. So Ezra said that a man is going to want to go to another city, but he is not going to be able to. Yeah, you can go if you comply to the rules of the corporation. They use words like the CDC will make them have a negative. January 26th, you must show your documents. Okay, so you agree to that when this drink become readily available, then the next thing is going to be is that you're going to have the drink. You're going to have proof that you have partaken of the drink in order to to fly. So a lot of you are saying, okay, well, you know what, that's just a test. I'll take a test, you know, to go to Cancun, Mexico. I'll take a test, right? I'll take a test because I want to go to Europe if that's what I got to do. But you're not realizing that you are trading your constitutional rights for pleasure, not understanding that once they put those cuffs on you every time you move, they get tighter. So you agree to that. They know that the next thing you're going to agree to, because you still want to travel, you're going to agree to take the drink. Knowing that the bartenders do not have your vested interest, but you're still going to be willing to take the drink because you want to go somewhere that you normally would not be able to go to. Bottom is falling out. We are within those 10 toes that is on the statue of Daniel chapter 2. The iron that is mixed with clay. But if you kept reading, Daniel chapter 7, Salakia. But if you kept reading, you saw that there was a stone that was cut out of a mountain that smashed the toes. We cannot give up. This is not a time to fold. This is not a time to compromise. This is a time for us to stand up. We are for real in a war zone. We are most definitely in a war zone, people. So what are we going to do about it? When our man George Floyd got killed, right? We segueing into our next topic. We're going to go boom, boom, boom. We're going to keep this thing rolling. International travel has now been threatened unless you have a negative. So you have to go get tested for Godzilla. You have to go get tested to see if Godzilla has entered into your life before you can travel. That's the first step. The second step is going to be you're going to have to show proof that you have the drink before you have to travel. Come back and visit this video 4 months from now. Come back and visit this video 4 months from now. You must have the drink in order to travel. Right now, we need to make sure that Godzilla has not entered your life. Now, when our boy George Floyd got killed, all of America again, it stopped. We saw protesting, we saw rioting, we saw it all. It was all happening in the streets. Everything. You name it, it was happening. George Floyd, we watched him die. social media, and then on national TV. This guy had a funeral that was unlike none other. Gold cast, horse carriage, celebrities was there, politicians was there, everybody talking about how sad it was, and the only thing that you could continue to hear was it's going to get better, it's going to get better. They came up with George Floyd laws, and I don't know what they're for. But just not here long ago, just last summer in Kenosha, I, I cannot remember the state, forgive me. Minnesota, I want to say. Kenosha, Minnesota. But I do remember the name of the guy. His name is Jacob Blake. He was shot 7 times. 7 times in the back. But that's not the interesting thing. The interesting thing is that he was shot 7 times in the back, and we just got word that nothing is going to happen to the police that shot him 7 times in the back. But before we go there, I want to start with an incident that just happened last Wednesday, the protest at Capitol Hill. There was a police officer out of Houston, Texas, that made his way down there. And the chief of Houston, Texas Police Department, Art Acevino, was very upset about it. I just to play this clip by Houston Police Chief. We're going to talk about this, and we're going to compare his behavior to when police shoot unarmed black people and they get off. Priorities. I remember growing up, my mom always told me about priorities. Priorities. Where are your priorities? Your priorities must be correct, right? Where's the priorities?
Yeah, I can tell you that I might as well just bring this up now. We actually, on Sunday, I received a complaint. I received information from an individual that one of my officers might have been in D.C. for the protest and that may have participated on the attack on the Capitol. And I can tell you that I received that late Sunday. I immediately contacted the FBI. We had already offered all of our resources to our FBI and our federal partners to help investigate any lead in our area of responsibility here in Houston. So I received information that one of our officers may have been at the Capitol. I immediately contacted the special agent in charge of the FBI, special agent in charge Perry Turner, and we launched a joint investigation Sunday afternoon. I can tell you that this morning, at first thing in the morning, there is a member of the Houston Police Department that's been determined that on his own time to have not only attended a rally, which is their First Amendment rights, but this individual has been determined to actually have been penetrated the Capitol, and that person was been placed off administrative leave this morning, and he was served with a 48-hour notice for a hearing with the Chief of Police on Friday. Let me just say this, there is no excuse for criminal activity, especially from a police officer. I can't tell you the anger I feel at the thought of a police officer and other police officers thinking they get to go storm the Capitol, or members of the military, or members of the Secret Service. And so our commitment here in the Houston Police Department is always to the rule of law. And it saddens me to report that we have that one officer, but I'm going to announce it here because it's the facts. And I'm trying to relax on a Sunday night. I got my email with me, and a member of this community sent me a picture. Didn't show any officer doing anything other than being with a Trump flag, face covered. And the first thing I did is I went to that person's Facebook, confirmed that was one of our officers that was there. Now, keep in mind, everybody has a First Amendment right to go to engage in First Amendment activity. But I wanted to make sure that they didn't pass beyond that and do something unlawful. And so I can tell you that there's a high probability this individual will be charged with federal charges, and rightfully so. and I'd be surprised if they show up Friday to my hearing.
All right. As I was listening to this, the very first time I was like thrilled. I was like, wow. And I asked my wife, I said, so you telling me that Chief Art Aceveno was that upset because one of his police officers stormed up into a Capitol building, right? A structure that was built eons ago, right? When we can go name after name, and I'm not going to even begin to name names, but we can go name after name after name after name of black individuals that have been killed, who have been shot down for no reason, unarmed. And just about every time we get the same result of no criminal charges have been found, no indictment have been placed upon them, no jail time they will see. But yet we have an officer here in Houston whom had been spotted in Washington, D.C., exercising his First Amendment rights, right? Along with others. He is going to be charged with a felony. But it's not so much that he's going to be charged with the felony that really got me, family. What really got me was how the chief was saying how it makes him sick that a police or an armed soldier or anybody like this here would veer outside of what the law says. So we comparing vandalism, which is more of a priority to the police chief in Houston than the life of individuals. We're talking vandalism. You went and checked the tape and you went right to the FBI to put in an investigation on a guy, but yet when somebody get killed, you guys hold back the evidence. You don't let the videos, you don't release videos to the families. You do in-house cleaning and things like this here. You do everything that you can to make yourself look good on the opposite side to try to make it to what we know and what we see, right? We're about to see a video in this Kenosha, Wisconsin, by the way. That's a state that I hardly ever talk about. This is one of the reasons why I could not remember the name of the state. But we talking Kenosha, Wisconsin. Our eyes are showing us terrible police work. Eyes are showing us murder. And we're going to listen to the chief of police there in Kenosha talk about a murder that took place in his place by one of his officers. And we're going to compare his behavior to the behavior of the chief in Houston to one of his officers that was protest. This guy was a father, by the way. And his kids were in the car when he got shot. Let's check it out. My people, this was terrible police work. That's what this was. And I I don't care how you shape this or how you word this, right? Because what we're about to do is we're about to hear from the chief there in Kenosha. We're going to hear from him. That was murder. But see, in the land that we live in, police are above the law unless they storm Capitol Hill and found out about it. But you can murder all day long black people. You can murder black people. Now, I'm gonna tell you exactly. I'm gonna tell you exactly why this guy got off. Because he feared for his life. This is why he got off. He got off because he feared for his life. Jacob Blake said that he had a knife in the car. Now, we got 3 police officers out here. One of them got a gun on him. And you letting this guy walk around this car that he said he got a knife in, and you let him open the door. This is terrible police work. If you guys can't do a better job in preserving life than that, if you think that he really got a knife in the car, I'm not going to let him get to the car. I'm not a police officer. If I'm out in the streets and I got a beef with a dude and I feel like he got a weapon in the car, I'm not going to let him get to the car. I'm going to tackle him. I'm going to hit him with something. I'm going to do everything that I can to keep him from getting to the car. But you following this guy. But see, because you saying stop, and he's continuing to walk, right? He's disobeying orders. That gives the law the right to do what? To shoot. Because you did what you was trained to do. Now, if anybody had a reason to be fearful of their life and pull their weapon and put some hot lead in somebody, it should have been this guy. Did you hear him? This is our America. This is our house. This is really how these people felt. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. In my opinion, I thought a lot of that stuff was staged. You got cameramen around. You got people taking still pictures and all of these types of things. But still, nonetheless, you got a black police officer being chased around a big building by a bunch of angry white people. And not one time did he pull his service weapon, but instead he pulled a nightstick. Anybody should have been fearful of their life and been able to get away with murder, right? It should have been this guy. Now, I'm not condoning murder. Don't get me wrong. But we see this in our community time and time again. And just this last one in August of 2020, this guy got shot 7 times in the back. If that's not criminal, I don't know what criminal is. There is no such thing as criminality if that's not criminal. Now we got an officer that's going to be fired in Houston, 18 years on the service, right? A petty officer, 18 years on the service. A patrol officer, 18 years on the service. In fact, he didn't get fired. He resigned before they fired him, right? But he hasn't even put in enough time to get his pension. All because he went to protest, right? When you got cop after cop after cop after cop that is getting off for murder, but this guy here had to change jobs. Let's listen to Kenosha.
And it is my decision now that I announce today before you that no Kenosha law enforcement officer in this case will be charged with any criminal offense based on the facts and the laws as I will describe them to you now. So it is our decision that no charge will be filed. I'm going to also tell you, just because I think it is important, that no charge will be filed against Jacob Blake in regards to this incident as well. For many of the same reasons, in terms of an overall discussion about this case, that is not something that the district attorney's office intends to pursue.
No criminal charges. That's his decision. Wait a minute. Listen to how he started.
And it is my decision now that I announce today before you that no Kenosha law enforcement officer in this case will be charged with any criminal offense.
I said there was the chief. That may be the DA there. It's his decision that no police, and that's what the DA's job is. People got to understand these people positions. Every piece on the chessboard has a position. It has a job to do. And the DA job is to protect the state, and the police work for the state. Their job is not to protect the citizens. Their job is not to protect the people. And it sure as heck is not to protect black people. Okay, the police committed a murder. We all saw that. What can we do within the frameworks of the law in which we can still be correct and get this guy off? And that's exactly what they did. So that's why it was his decision. Let this be clear.
And it is my decision now that I announce today before you that no Kenosha law enforcement officer in this case will be charged with any criminal offense based on the facts and the laws as I will describe them to you now.
The facts and the laws. This is what Wisdom of Solomon said. Chapter 3, that they will use the law as their stronghold, and he who is weak and enfeeble is as nothing. They write the laws, they interpret the laws, which means that they have the power to make the laws say what they want them to say. Now, if I was to put vandalism of the Capitol Hill building and murder on a scale, on my scale, murder is going to outweigh vandalism all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. But yet we got one officer who is quick to lose his job of vandalism, but yet we go through a whole due process when these police officers murder individuals in the streets. Heck, half the time they don't even be put on administrative leave. They go right back to work. They go right back to work. The bottom is falling out. The question is are you going to fall with it? It's unraveling. It's falling apart. They're going to control how you travel. They have shown you what is more important here in America, and the life of the black and brown is at the bottom of that list. Civil unrest is sure to come. What we saw last Wednesday is a precursor to what is going to happen in the near future. Before March, we're going to see something else devastating. Last but not least, they're making us sick with Godzilla, and they're going to make us even sicker with the drink. They even want to dearm us. The Second Amendment rights, it's no longer going to be a right. Now, the clip that I'm about to show, this is something that this lady said over a year ago, right? But the fact is that she said it, and this is an advocate anti-Second Amendment voice that is being heard in Washington. She is one that draws up bills on gun laws, right? And to make this clear, these politicians align on guns the same way they line about Godzilla, and they making it like a public health problem, okay? Because they know, again, they know that the American people are willing to trade in their constitutional rights in the name of safety. But gun buybacks is a precursor to the government coming in and taking your guns away. And people, please stop saying that the government cannot do that. They are the government. It might cause a war, but they can do that because they are the government. Sheila Jackson Lee.
Held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving. And the bullet that is utilized, a 50 caliber, these kinds of bullets, need to be licensed and do not need to be on the streets. 90% of the people want background checks. Over 60% want a ban on assault weapons. 80% plus want red flag laws. And I would venture to say those numbers would be similar for storage laws and for licensing laws regarding the question of firearms and ammunition. And finally, interestingly enough, Americans support the buyback program, which all of us could have in our respective communities.
The buyback program only benefit poor people, by the way. They're already making sure that you're barely going to be able to feed yourself, right? So if you see that you can make some money off of your firearms, it's going to be no different than taking it to the pawn shop and getting you a little bit of something for it than to give it back to the government. Okay? But let's talk about the lies that came out of this lady's mouth. She said that the AR-15 is heavy as 10 boxes that you may be moving. Where did she get that from? Where did she get that from? I don't know what type of AR. Now, the AR that the AR that she held, right? It may have been that heavy because obviously her AR was shooting 50 cal bullets. That's what she said. Let's look at it. Let's listen to a little bit of this.
Held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving. And the bullet that is utilized, a 50 caliber, these kinds of bullets, need to be licensed and do not need to be on the streets.
A 50 cal bullet being shot out of an AR-15 that weighs as much as 10 boxes being moved. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm siding with her on that one, man. I'm going to side with her on that. That gun there needs not to be on the street. I don't know who's going to be able to shoot it. On a Schwarzenegger back in the 80s, maybe. Lou Ferrigno back in the late 70s and back in the 80s, maybe. But no normal man walking around here is going to be able to shoot an AR-15 that weighs as much as 10 boxes that grown men would be carrying, and also it shoots a 50 cal bullet. These are lies, people. These are lies that are building into your fear because they know and they understand that the American people are willing to give up constitutional rights in the name of safety. They have a silver tongue of deceit. It's poison and asp under their tongues, and they are lying. And these numbers that she called out, right? I was trying to write them down. I couldn't write them all down, and she was calling them out. But this is the question that you need to ask. Salakia, who are these people? Let's listen to this clip one more time. One more time.
Held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving. And the bullet that is utilized, a 50 caliber, these kinds of bullets, need to be licensed and do not need to be on the streets. 90% of the people want background checks. Over 60% want a ban on assault weapons. 80% plus want red flag laws. And I would venture to say those numbers would be similar for storage laws and for licensing laws regarding the question of firearms and ammunition. And finally, interestingly enough, Americans support the buyback program, which all of us could have in our respective communities.
Now, you have to ask yourself the question, who are these people that she's talking about? She's not talking about all of America. This is a Democratic Senate seat holder out of Texas. Okay? Representative out of Houston. Democrat. And the reason why her people feel that way is because her people, which are the Democratic people in the lower income sector of her city, have bought into the fear mongering that they have fed them. 60% of the people, she say, want a ban on assault rifles. 80% want red flags, and 90% want the buybacks. And then when it comes to licensing, how are you going to license a right? The Constitution says that every man has a right to bear arms. So how are you going to license a right? But when the people are willing to give up their constitutional rights in the name of fear, the government can do that. They can do that. A 50 caliber bullet being shot out of an AR-15 that weighs as much as 10 boxes. 10 boxes. I have no idea what weapon it is that she's talking about. But the gist of this show today, YouTube family, is that the government have put cuffs on us, and every time we move, they're going to get tighter. This is all about control. They have created Godzilla, and Godzilla is now Gaddafi. Godzilla is Bin Laden. Godzilla is Hussein. Godzilla is the terrorist. They have these sub terrorists like Antifa and Black Lives Matter running around here that is causing their agenda. But the enemy is the American people on this soil and all of the other people on the other 6 continents that is in the earth. They are leading us as sheep to the slaughter. And you will be led to that slaughter. You will be led to that slaughter if you do not open your eyes to see and your ears to hear what the Spirit of the Most High has to say. We are in the last days. We are in Matthew chapter 24. We are in Revelation chapter 18. Babylon is falling. It is falling. The bottom is falling out, family. Hit that like button. Hit that subscription button and the little bell for the notifications of when I bring back different shows. This is Shayir Yeshub. I appreciate the time that you will spend with me. Barakatah wa shalom.